A J Mix exclusive.
Hello all, it's J-Mix here, and I want to welcome all my YouTube subs and viewers to my exclusive interview with author of the book, The FBI War on Tupac and Black Leaders, Mr. John Potash. I conducted this interview last year, and due to some time restraints and previous commitments, I wasn't able to post it until now. Me and John don't agree on everything, but for your listening pleasure, here's part one with Mr. John Potash. John, can you give us any links to your website or blogs where people can find out more information about your book?
Sure. It's the website's www.fbiwarontupac.com, and I don't have a blog.
You graduated from Columbia University, right?
Yeah, I got a master's degree from Columbia.
John, how did you get into social counseling?
Well, I got a master's degree in social work because I was doing addictions counseling for a living at the time, and I decided I wanted to get a higher degree to be able to do that better, and I also social work offered the opportunity to do community organizing and some sociology. So there was a radical professor at Columbia University named Richard Cloward who I had read about in some radical leftist magazines, and so I wanted to take a class with him.
When you left Columbia University, you had originally intended to write a novel, correct?
Well, I'd started with a novel on drugs in society, basically drugs as weapons against us. It was kind of the theme, the undertone, because I've been working as an addictions counselor for 8 years, and I was using the Black Panthers, like a character that I was using someone who I had counseled as a character in my novel, and it was someone I really did counsel who said my father was a Black Panther killed by the police. So I was researching the Black Panthers, and I read all about the New York Black Panthers, the leading ones of which were the Shakurs, Lumumba and Afeni Shakur, for example, and Assata Shakur and Zaid Shakur. And when I found out about Tupac getting shot in New York, when he wasn't killed but shot in that New York recording studio lobby, I wondered. I called his lawyer and said, "Do you think they're trying to kill him like they tried to kill his Black Panther parents?" He said, "Yeah, no one's writing about it." So that's how I got into. I took a tangent from the novel into the book about Tupac.
And this was in 1994?
Well, this was, 1994 is when I first called him, right? And it was in probably December 1st of 1994, or December 15th might have been, somewhere around then, right after the shooting of November 30th of 1994. So that's when I called Michael Warren, Tupac's New York trial lawyer. He's also a great activist. He's the spokesperson for the Mumia Abu Jamal campaign in Europe. And so he's the one that I've talked to for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours about the case. And he thinks that, yes, U.S. intelligence, was trying to kill Tupac because of his increasing wealth and fame to add on with his radical leftist politics.
Can you describe, for those that may not know, what Cointelpro means?
Yeah, it's Cointelpro is a shortened name for the counterintelligence program. That was a program started by the FBI in the 1950s to basically target leftist activists. When I say leftist, I mean socialists, communists, anarchists, and I just consider them people trying to change society for the better for the great majority of us versus the very wealthy. And to me, when you get from Republican to maybe conservative Democrat or maybe mainstream Democrat, you got a lot of people that are financed by the super wealthy, in order to win their elections, and they don't necessarily represent the average working person like ourselves. I assume I don't know you that well, Jesse, but like myself, I say, and like most people in this country, probably 90% of the country, you can even call it the 99%. So they represent the 1%. And when you get to the liberal or, liberal Democrats, you're starting to get more representation of unions and working man and the 99%. But when you get to the anarchists and the socialists and the communists and just other groups, even the the really left-wing Democrats, even you get to people I think that are representing the majority of us, the 99%. So that's the way I look at it. And that's why I think the 1% is basically had started the CIA in 1947 with the National Security Act of 1947. They were behind the CIA, and the CIA was put in charge of the other 14 plus intelligence agencies in this country, and including the FBI. And that's how they just we basically control intelligence and control these attacks on people trying to change society for the better, anywhere from the Black Panthers to the Students for a Democratic Society that were trying to stop the Vietnam War, and the Weather Underground, which some of the leadership of SDS turned into, to the Occupy Wall Street movement and all.
What are some of the tactics used by COINTELPRO to disrupt?
Well, in their documents, in the FBI documents that I've gotten, they include harassment arrests, and they call it the harassment arrest strategy, where they'll arrest you again and again until you run out of money, and you run out of a lot of time while you're spending time in jail and you're spending time in court trying to keep yourself free. That's one strategy. I argue that they also added harassment lawsuits, false frame-ups, false imprisonment, and then of course there's actual murders. And all these strategies have been shown as being used against the Black Panthers. Tupac's parents, his mother, Afeni Shakur, was a one-time leader of the Harlem Black Panthers. His mother's first husband, Lumumba Shakur, who founded the Harlem Black Panthers. His aunt, of course, Assata Shakur, his uncle Zaid Shakur, who were leaders of the Bronx Black Panthers, etc.
Another tool used would be misinformation, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a lot of people call it disinformation, but misinformation, disinformation, smearing people, and the ways they do this, I outline in great detail in my book, in 2 chapters of my book, but in my film also, my film which is available on DVD, I show 3 particular ways they've gained control over the media, the super wealthy. One way is the fact that Ben Bagdickian, the former dean of the California School of Berkeley, found that the top magazines and newspapers, Time Incorporated, New York Times, etc., all the newspapers and magazines have their boards of directors are interlocked with the top multinational corporations such as the oil companies, the banks, the defense contractors, insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, etc. And that's one way they control the media. Another way they control the media is by Carl Bernstein, the Watergate muckraker, found that well over 400 members of the CIA live dual lives in their work in the media. So these people, like the heads of the media, actually were also working for the CIA at the same time. And we're talking about the directors of Time Incorporated, the top editors of New York Times, the people, heads of UPI and Associated Press, etc. All the top magazines and wire services were all living dual lives, he found, in their work with the CIA. And he found that from a Senate Church Committee investigation in 1976. So it's well-documented stuff. It's in government records that this came out. So, someone else, a former CIA agent, said that he came across a memo in 1992 of the CIA boasting that they could control virtually every single media organization in the country with an agent they have, an undercover agent they have in there that could spin or censor news they want to spin or censor. So, and the final way they do it, they control our information, is through the Pentagon owning, Noam Chomsky and Ed Herman, professors at MIT and University of Pennsylvania, respectively, said that they own well over 1,300 different magazines. It makes them just by far the largest magazine publisher in the entire world by owning so many different magazines. And so they can put out any kind of misinformation they want when they want to.
John, do you feel we as Americans have lost the value of an independent press?
Yeah, I do. I feel like we have. And it started in the 19 teens when the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgan interests bought out most of the top newspapers in the country to protect their interests. But then it continued with the ways I just described. Sure.
I'm asking your opinion on this. Why do you think it is so difficult for people to believe in a rogue or a corrupt government?
Well, there's just so many ways that through our schooling and through the mainstream media we read, that it's drilled into our heads that you can trust your government and your government protects you, and it's done in so many different subtle ways that it's just hard to go against all we've learned all our lives and all our parents have learned all their lives, from the mainstream news outlets, that it's just hard. It's hard to accept such a turnaround in thinking.
Once again, everyone, it's J-Mix here. Thank you to all my YouTube subs and viewers for listening to part 1 with John Potash. Keep it locked right here. Part 2 will be up shortly, and many more interviews to come. One love, everybody, and I'll see you on the next upload.
A J-Mix exclusive.
Whatever, shut up.